Hello.
Hello.
My old friend Donald, what you up to?
Man, I ain't talked to you in a minute. What you up to, brother?
It's been a month.
I know, right? Well, I ain't been up to too terribly much. I sent you a message this morning, man. You know, I've been seeing Neil deGrasse Tyson, on Fillmore, 2 or 3 things, and I happened to see a TikTok today, and somebody commented, said, "Can you, in layman terms, explain string theory?" And he did a very good job. I mean, he actually said no.
No,
he tried.
Yeah.
I mean, you cannot put that into layman terms, but he tried. And what he was saying was, and it really actually made sense to me, even with the stuff I do with physics and we talk about, and stuff. But what he did was like, string theory is basically, the theory of the universe, the big stuff, the observable universe, the things we can see, whether, you believe in the reality you have in front of you. It's a matrix theory. I mean, we've discussed 2 or 3 of those. But he also was talking about, the quantum universe, which is the theory of the small, the unseen, which goes back to, do you actually see what you think you see? And I actually posted him a question. Now, he hasn't responded, but I would love the answer to this. What do you call that middle ground? What science do we call, or physics, do we call that middle between the big and the small? I would love to have that answer, but do you have an opinion?
I mean, string theory is supposed to tell us that, but I mean, I understand Einsteinian physics. It's a big. I understand the quantum. I don't understand string theory, and everybody I've ever heard talk about it go, it was a failed experiment, but I don't even know what string theory is. I mean, strings. I mean, what is it about? I mean, do you know any more than that, or are you more knowledgeable of the traditional physics, or what do you know about string theory? I'm not. I can't even tell you that I even know shit about it. I know that I've heard of it, but that's all I know.
Yeah, well, I mean, Einstein, he came up with the string theory, and the warping of the universe, the gravity makes, the puddles that make things go through there. And there was a light speed limit and 2 or 3 things. And I don't know enough to try to explain it to anybody who hasn't actually just, I guess, kind of figured it out on their own. Because all I can say is I kind of get it, but man, you can't put that stuff into words. I mean, quantum mechanics, when that came out, was so hard to explain in terms of the best that could be explained from the person I talked to was, you open the garage door and the cat runs across the road. That's quantum mechanics. There's no rhyme or reason, where string theory is everything's on a string. I mean, it all kind of connects and rolls together, and we're finding, that Einstein was right in the new black holes. They have seen true proof of Einsteinian physics in the center of the black holes that, they've seen with the new Webb telescope. And now how they do that, I don't know enough of that. But, it's light waves and the way they bend and stuff. But, light is a wave, yet it's also a particle, and they can't be both. So, there's where Einstein physics break down in a lot of ways. Of course, you can't have multiple levels. Go ahead. Sorry.
I'm just trying to say Einstein had nothing to do with string theory. But here's what string theory says. String theory proposes that the fundamental constituents of the universe are one-dimensional strings rather than point-like particles, which is Einsteinian. And then what we perceive as particles are actually vibrations in loops of string, each with its own characteristic frequency. So it sounds like it's and quantum is about the small, like the cat, and because it's like talking about states of a particular quantum or whatever, wherever it's at. But now I don't. But even still, string theory is so complicated that just normal people, even Neil deGrasse Tyson, he couldn't explain it. And of course, if he can't explain it, there's nothing. I mean, there's other group that we listen to with that gravity group, quantum gravity group out of Los Angeles. They said that string theory was a no-go from the very beginning. It's never proven anything. It couldn't even describe, the speed of light.
Well, no, it couldn't. The string theory, again, now, maybe I misspoke. I didn't mean that Einstein created string theory. It was his theories that led to string theory. And that's just been the predominant, physics community go-to. And it's just they're slowly, you've had proponents for and against. It's just now, we've actually got to the point in our technology and stuff to be able to see that you're not wrong, but you're not totally right, because we now can observe things down to that quantum level. I mean, you've got quantum computing. They've actually, I think me and you discussed the slit experiment, about how it changes and stuff. And so they're seeing that it's not totally right, but it's not totally wrong. So the theory of everything is still elusive for us. It's just string theory was the predominant one that, look, I couldn't explain it to nobody because, like you said, even the biggest brain on the around right now, I couldn't do it. But he did a good job. That's what I was trying to do is, string theory is more about the big universe and the observable, and quantum's more the tiny and the unobservable. It was a great, great way to explain something in layman terms, just like the guy said.
Yeah, I have to go back and listen to him. But when I think of when I think of physics, I think of the quantum, and I think of Einstein, and then I think of a way to bring those two together, which is my big toe. And toe is theory of everything, and no one has done it yet. I mean, and there was a recent, oh my God, it was a physics, oh my God, that little award they give every year. It was given to some guys.
Oh, the Nobel Prize, right? Yes, yeah. 3 guys got it because they proved, going back to the quantum part of it, because again, the theory of everything, toe, as you said, great analogy, or anagram, I think that's what it's called actually. But anyway, the theory of everything, nobody had it, but the predominant was string because it fit most things. It's just now, I mean, again, going back to the gravity group, and they're talking about they're seeing deeper into 3D objects on a 2D scale, so they're able to see deeper into the quantum universe. Quantum computing, you make it's not 1 and 0. It's not yes and no. There's actually a gray in the middle, so there's 3, so it can make assumptions. That's an easy way to explain a very complex method that they go about, but it is revolutionary. And so the theory of everything has been upended because of the new technologies we've discovered. And so now they're trying to mesh them together. And that's what I was going to ask the brightest brain in the world, man. What do you call that middle ground now? The mix between the string and the quantum. The people who won that Nobel Prize, they proved there is quantum mechanics, even though we were like, we can't understand that shit. But they proved it. They won it. Well, so what are we going to call this new science?
Well, what they proved is that Einstein was wrong about some things. I mean, of course, he called it spooky stuff at a distance. But now we should get those guys over there at that Gravitational Institute on the phone sometimes and say, hey, tell us what string theory is, because I have never ever, when it first came out, back in the early 90s or late 80s, I was in college at the time. I remember people talking about, this is string theory, man. It's a new thing. Everybody's going. I'm like, okay, well, what does it mean? Like, it's like guitar strings. They got some vibrations and stuff. I'm like, okay, well, how does that explain to me, Newtonian physics, Einsteinian physics, and then even quantum was back then. Quantum theory's been around since Einstein, because he was talking about it.
Oh,
back
yeah.
In 1920,
Yeah. It's been around, but it's been considered kind of a crock pot, not really real. I mean, you shake an electron here, and one on the other side of the universe shakes as well. I mean, there's been no way to actually have the proof, which is why the Nobel Prize came in. It's because these guys actually proved, even though way back then we couldn't see evidence of quantum mechanics, they theorized it. That's some big brain shit going on right there.
Yes, it is.
It's just we've only just been able to actually prove those guys way back then, they wasn't right about everything, but they touched on stuff that we could only think about, and now these guys prove it's real. They were right.
That's right. With all these
with reservations
now.
Yeah.
With all these fancy-ass computers now, these guys, Einstein and all of his contemporaries, were looking at stuff with thought experiments in the 40s and 50s and earlier than that. And then these guys now have all these fancy computers that can go in there and look at it, and they still are barely scratching the surface of what these guys were looking at with quantum theory in the 40s. That's what blows me away. Those guys, and a lot of them, they were from that paperclip thing. A lot of them were from Germany. A lot of them actually, and even the woman, I forget her name, but there was a woman that invented the technology for Bluetooth technology back in, and she was, I forget who she was, but I'll look it up. But this woman is like another German or Austrian. Those people in Europe, Eastern Europe there, they were, that was some big brain stuff going on. We pulled them over here and helped create the whole, the nuclear program that the United States had. And in fact, these people helped us put the first human beings on the moon. And, with their practicality in these theories. But then they also went into this deep stuff about the future and what's going to happen. And it just blows me away, man. My brain does not comprehend that. I'm like, well, I burnt.
Yeah. Yeah, like, I farted. Yeah, I know. Hey, man, I when I say I get it and stuff, it's just I have made myself understand it to the limited point that I can, because, hey, like we talking about, there are people out there that are way better, way smarter, and got way bigger brains. It's just, and it's interesting to see the new technology that's coming out. Hey, look, Elon Musk, it does now. He's got his pluses and cons. The poor fella, he needs to get laid or something. I don't know. He's uptight, but maybe it's one of those things with the technology that's coming out with the new innovations, the new technology, the engineers that are becoming CEOs and that kind of thing. We're actually seeing growth that maybe has been held back or maybe stymied by, old ideas and stuff, because again, you had all those folks that had that idea that Einstein was right and then other ones was wrong. And going back to that group we were talking about, I think I would probably like to send in the same, comment that I sent him. Is like, well, I've enjoyed your videos and you've done that. Well, how about one that compares the two? And I would think that maybe we could get somebody on here, but I'll check it out, man.
That would be a good idea. Of course, the thing of it is that this is important for everything in my mind, because, the way that we everybody's been going lately is this whole dumbing down of the world. You and I were talking about this the other day. It's like, people today, I hear people talking about, ain't no use going to college. All you guys do is learn how to sit by a fire and grill.
Right.
Now, I love grilling. Don't get me wrong, but I think that we don't need to burn universities down just yet. Like we did in the Dark Ages. And even I know a lot of historians say the Dark Ages weren't that bad, but anyway, so let's move into the realm of philosophy. We've talked about physics, and that there's the heavy stuff, and the philosophy.
Right, but the theory of everything the theory of everything, going back to your toe, is you have to include the philosophy side of it. Because, again, if you go back to where folks didn't believe in the quantum mechanics and now it's been proved, I mean, there was still the theory of it. Well, philosophy is the what if in my mind. And I would love to see the marriage between the science, the quantum physics, Neil deGrasse Tyson. Sorry, I probably butchered that name. And the actual Alan Watts. You quote that man a lot, and I've listened to a few of his things, and that was an open-minded analog for the theory of everything without it being deep into the science side. It was more the mental, emotional, physical side of the human condition versus the scientific condition. So now, where do you see that, the marriage of the science and the physical?
Well,
Alan Watts, that guy.
Yeah, I mean, he was highly educated, and he was, he had advanced degrees, and of course he looked at the scientific part, but now he used that as a jump off to look at the philosophical, and of course, in my mind, it's just like the quantum and the big theories, the big physics, the Newtonian and Einsteinian theories. You have to have. Here's what Alan Watts said. You don't get the front side of the mountain without the back side. You don't get the shady side of the mountain without the bright side. You don't get the front without the back. You don't get the inside without the outside. And that's the whole point.
You can't have shadow without light.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's exactly the point. Yeah, so you can't have in the human realm, and of course he always talked about enlightenment from the Buddhist perspective, and of course that's the human perspective, and it doesn't make a difference what it turns out to be, but it's still the human perspective. The human perspective is a very specific perspective. We're all about so tall with a brain so big on a planet at this place in the universe, at this time in the universe, looking at it from our perspective. So we have to find our understanding of it from where we're at, which is always ever changing. And of course, you and I have been alive long enough, in our 50s now, that we've seen things change dramatically since the 70s, whenever we were growing up. We've started kindergarten in the 70s. And of course, the things that we knew to be the truth then is not the truth now. And of course, the people today, a lot of young people, you and I were talking about this today too, the truth they know, their reality is totally different than our reality. I don't give a shit how much science or philosophy you put into it. The reality that people experience is the reality that people experience. And of course,
and it's unknowable to the other person. Yes. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
It has to be. That's right. Well, the reality of it is that there is a we are restricted because we are a specific entity with a specific set of sensors. I mean, we can't go beyond like Einstein did, because I say that we can, but we're not going beyond that now because we're hating on anything smart. That's where I'm stuck at right now, is that we're so inclined to hate anything smart. Oh, don't come up there to me with those big old words. Boy, come up there and tell me about how you killed and shit. That's all I want to know right there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just too easy to, get distracted these days. I mean, we had our mindset on how we wanted to live things, and today's thing, we have trouble deciding it. But most of the younger folks today is like, well, if it didn't happen in my lifetime, then it probably didn't happen. And hey, that's a failing our point. And we've had the discussions about where to put money and stuff, and
education. Talk about education.
Right.
Education.
And I
that's
keep
your point.
Yeah. As I keep saying is, hey, look, we as a nation need to dump thousands and thousands of tax dollar money, maybe, billions. I
thousands of individuals paying in to the K through 12. And when when you got the children that they're like, well, this is all I really want to do, then let them do that. Let them be the welders. If they want to sit in a little bucket and weld, I don't have a problem with that. But you had your opportunity. You make these choices. You can later change it, but you got to pay for that. And the maturity level and the things that our kids see today or are exposed to, we learned on the farm naturally. But now, I mean, look, I'm a red-blooded guy. I like Pornhub, but, the stepsister and stepmom porn is getting a little weird, okay? But it's just the mentality that has changed between it. We saw farms growing, pick crops, worked into tomato fields, for God's sakes. I mean, and they just don't do that now. So there is a different culture, and I think it's lacking. The COVID response, while I think, we did things that needed to be done, I think it was overreactions. If you look at all the stuff, man, go ahead.
Hey, let's go back to this Pornhub thing for a second, because this is big. I think there's actually a governor, or maybe it's a mayor, I don't know, but this guy has published the fact that he stars in a Pornhub movie. Think about that.
Really?
There is an actual. I'll look it up while we're thinking about this. But this guy, he's running for governor or mayor or something here. But let me just say this. Einstein, real quick on this. Einstein received a bachelor's degree from the Swiss Federal Polytechnic in 1900 and a PhD from the University of Zurich in 1905. Einstein was born in 1879 and died in 1955. Okay, so let's go back to hear about the Pornhub.
Just a little quick thing with the Einstein, so we're talking about it. His parents thought he was retarded when he was a kid because he didn't learn to talk until he was much older. It was just his brain worked differently. I did my actual, what do you call the high school thing that you got to write? I don't remember what it's called on Einstein. So, yeah. Anyway, go ahead, please. Let's back to the Pornhub thing.
Well, the Pornhub thing is a mayor porn videos. Let's see, what's the mayor porn videos? What was I say? Pornhub mayor name. This is crazy. This is the time we're in, man. We're in a time where a guy that Eric Adams needs to move away from. I don't know. Anyway, just
he performed publicly, and folks are okay with it.
Well, it's just the fact that it's in a world where you can go and say, hey, vote for me because I was Pornhub mayor. I mean, what the hell? I mean, we have.
Well, no, I agree with that. Now, is he actually?
So far.
Is he bragging about it, or is it proponents?
No.
Okay.
No.
He's
bragging about it. He's using that as
oh, that's crazy. Okay, I understand that. Well, and he may have, but the thing. Well, I hope he did too, because I mean, look, we were talking about Herschel Walker earlier. I mean, the man. I'm against abortion, but he's paid for one and he's admitted to it. But there's still Herschel Walker. They don't really care now. I mean, and whoever they are is the folks that you do realize by voting for this, you're actually destroying what the country was built on, which was people who represent you. Does Herschel Walker truly represent you in all matters? Or is he a go-to guy? Somebody talked into running because he's popular and he says the things he says, and you're just going to put him in there and actually expect in the future that man is going to truly understand what you need and the way you're asking. See, there's that peril we're getting.
This is called idiocracy. We have moved from smart people doing smart things to idiocracy. Big ass fire! You know.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
Wow.
I mean, that kind of thing don't make sense for us as a country, because, we have our problems, but I'll tell you what, I don't want to live anywhere freaking else. I would go to Canada,
True.
but I really don't want to. I mean, this country is still based and built upon the ideas that made America, America. But I think folks have lost their way. I mean,
the string is unwinding. The string is unwinding. That little coil is getting thinner and thinner. I mean, this is not the America that we grew up in. I'm talking about in 50 fucking years. We have unwound the string down to the core. And either that thing's going to get wound back up again, or we're going to be, our kite's going to be flying off into space. Come on.
And you're right. And that's what I'm saying is, we are feeling this way, but, hey, we were talking about Me TV this morning, you and I and a friend of ours, and I was watching some old cartoon with Bugs Bunny. Well, it was political even then. The bad guy wore a blue coat and red tie. Every episode I watched, because I was noticing, it's like, wait a minute. What's going on here? And so even that, I look back at these 1950 cartoons. You had divisions in cartoons at that time. It was Popeye, and so the big guy with the beard, whatever, I don't remember. Is it Bruno? I think his name.
Burger.
He was red. There you go. Red shirt, blue pants. What does DJT wear? Same thing. That's the elephant. And then you had poor Popeye, the underdog who, well, he's kind of pathetic in a lot of ways, but yeah, he wore the other colors. So even then, folks thought, oh, this country's unwinding. I just think that during the time after the wars we had and the folks that come back and had education just paid for and, they got into the system in these positions, well, they like it exactly the way it is. They don't want it to change. They're fearful of it. And we didn't get into that group. We're in the middle. I mean, we're Gen X. We're the black sheep of this current country. The new group, but now, hey, I'm proud of the new group in some ways. I mean, you look at the women in Iranian that they're standing up to the morality police. I mean, they're like, you can't kill us all. So some of the youth are doing the right way, but man, as an average, we're losing ground. The youth are not as smart as they could be because they're too distracted by everyday things that we didn't have to listen to. We saw the 5 p.m. news, and if we was lucky, after the late show, you hit the 11 o'clock news and maybe newspaper. Now it's shoved in your face every day on the phone. Go ahead.
And the thing of it is, and you're right there, because what we have now is, we have an unbridled media. We don't have any kind of standards as far as media goes. And I'm talking about both sides, but particularly on, but here's what we have. We have propaganda machines instead of news.
We do.
Up until 1990 or so, by the time you and I graduated high school, we had, reasonably unbiased news sources. But now it's all entertainment sources. There's no such thing as like, an unbiased news source where they go, here's this, here's that. But now it's all like, big ass balls, spaghetti at the fucking show.
Well,
woo!
Yeah,
we're literally in idiocracy. Mike Judge, bless you, sir. Yeah.
I know. I watched that movie. Dang it. Herschel played King whatever in that movie. You know that, right?
Yeah. Oh, he did, didn't he?
He did, and he was a retard in that movie too.
Oh.
All right, well, that was a sidetrack. Well, you're right in so many ways. Yeah, we did, but yeah, he played King whatever in that movie.
I don't know how we can carry this conversation any further than that acknowledgement.
That right there, you're right, my friend. All right, well, I needed to go anyway. Hey, I'm glad to hear from you, brother. I hadn't talked to you in a while. Call me back later sometime.
It's always good to bullshit with my old buddy. Thank you, sir.
All right, brother. Talk to you later.
Bye.